All right. Let me know if you can hear me now. I'm U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharp. I'm live. Can you hear me? Go ahead and confirm whether you can hear me. Okay, nice. Thank you so much, Cindy. All right, we are on a roll. Great. Okay, so go ahead, put your questions in the comments. I want to hear. Hi there, Karen. Nice to see you. Go ahead and put your questions in the comments. Now, I there's a lot going on, and as you can see, we even have some, a looming international crisis going on, which has taken over the news circuit. But I have been, seeing we have been getting certain updates. So for one, uh, we have seen that the Attorney General here in Florida has now been held in contempt for not obeying the court order. It's putting on hold the Florida law that criminalized undocumented immigrants who entered the Florida. So this is very disturbing because the Attorney General has been um, clearly disobeying a judge's ruling that he should not be enforcing that law, arresting immigrants for entering the United States. So unfortunately, we're here right now, which that has been the case in even at the federal level, where some court orders are uh, being disobeyed, being defied. Now, here's the issue is we have the judge found this person in contempt, the attorney general in contempt. We have to see what that means exactly. I'm pretty sure he's going to appeal that the decision of the judge. But it continues to be a big concern because if the government in that is currently enforcing the laws don't obey judges' orders, then what does that mean for uh, for the rule of law and order here? So we'll keep an eye on that, but that is something that I noticed happened, and we'll, hopefully we'll see it resolved in the direction of justice. So just know, and this is where it's important for you to know, just know that if you are in Florida, or you're coming into Florida, that it is not safe. As I've always said that it is not safe, but this shows exactly why that the police are still arresting immigrants based on their immigration status and even defying a judge's order. So it is still happening. So if you can avoid Florida, avoid Florida. Um, Also, just make sure you're evaluating your options, right? Because you want to make sure that uh, you are safe. I'm so glad you're confirming that you can hear. Thank you so much. All right. I'm going to answer some questions here. We've had a good week here at SC Law Office, and that once again shows everybody that even though, yes, we're seeing these things happening, that there are good things happening. And it's so important for me to share that with you. That we've gotten our clients work permits, we've gotten our clients green cards in this past week. And that means the reason that is the case is because here at SC Law Office, we focus on solutions, right? Based in solid law. The president is issuing a lot of executive orders. Executive orders are not law, right? He's signing these, and a lot of people are being fooled saying this is the law. These are the laws he's signing, and he's changing the laws. Congress changes the laws. President, the executive office enforces the laws, right? So he can't make law. And that is why, as we are focused on established law in the books, and we pursue those at the immigration office and before the court and before the judges. And when it goes before an officer or a judge, they have to look at the law, look at our client, and if our client qualifies for it, then the client gets it. That's what the law says. So don't believe those rumors out there that say no more VAWA, no more T visas, no more marriage based visas, no more green cards, no more work permits. It's not true. And you can see it. You can see it through even the photos I have just showing that we're receiving those those types of results. All right. So here I'm going to answer questions. Put your questions in the comments now so that I can answer your questions. I'm getting used to this new platform, so I notice I'm a little bit out of frame on Instagram. Bear with me there. Uh, how long after biometrics do you get the work permit? So it's all over the place in regards to the biometrics. But what I can say is I usually count from the time of filing. If you filed for VAWA, you're looking at about 6 to 12 months. If you file for marriage base, you're looking at about 3 to 6 months and we just got one in 2 months. My shortest was 2 weeks. So good evening. As a PR, is it okay to travel to New York? Yes, you can travel. Permanent residents can travel. In regards, now keep in mind, I'm not your attorney. I'm not giving you personalized legal advice. If you are worried about something in your background, do not depend on the live to say, okay, Attorney Sharifa says it's okay to travel, so I'm going to travel. If I'm not your attorney, I haven't advised you to travel. As a client, you need to get personalized legal advice and an attorney if you're worried about something. In regards the naturalization, so I don't see where, I guess that I'll scroll through to see where you mentioned naturalization. Can I go to Florida with a green card? Yes, you're a green card holder. You have the right to travel. How long after getting conditional marriage-based green card can you travel? Right away. You have that green card, you can travel. Just make sure that you understand, you know everything in your background, you don't have any criminal issues, you don't have any past violations that could potentially cause an issue when you're coming back into the country. But once you get your green card, you can travel. How long after biometrics do you get the work permit? I was answered that. Um, how long after getting a conditional green card can someone travel? So right away. Let me see any more questions there. No. Can we fly domestically after getting the work permit? Yes, the work permit does allow you to travel. Came with F1, but didn't go to school, married a US citizen, I-130, approved after interviews, but I-485 still pending. It's been almost 2 months. They give me a paper at interview saying 120 days decision. Right. So yeah, you usually have to give them up to 4 months. So that's 120 days to decide to come to a decision. Usually it's pretty straightforward after you get your I-130 approved. So I guess the question, is there anything in your background that they're now looking at? Sometimes maybe there's additional background information they're looking at. So it just depends. I don't know the facts. Other than you're married to a US citizen and F1. So we'd have to look at those to see, is there anything that hints to why it's taking so long? Do you take on new clients with pending case from other attorneys? You now, under the rules of professional responsibility, we cannot solicit someone who is already represented by an attorney. So you do have to make sure that before you go with me as your attorney, you have to terminate the previous representation if that is something you're not satisfied with. But that's what I abide by. I have to abide by the professional rules of responsibility. And so and think about it, you can't have multiple attorneys working on the same case or on an immigration matter that might be related. So yeah, that's my stand on that. Is there any hope for people who overstay their visas? Yes, there is hope. And you're looking at that hope right here because I have a majority of my clients who have overstayed, and my clients have won. And the overstay w- became a non-issue. But it depends on what's going on in your background. This is where I say overstayed, you enter the country without inspection. Now is the time to evaluate your options. Okay, because if you do not, there are options available. But if you do not try to evaluate what those options could be, then you are vulnerable. And they're blind. You're basically going through staying here in the United States blind. You could have relief and you not even know about it. One of the unfortunate things I see is the area of law we practice here and that we focus on is we really look at solutions for our clients that other attorneys don't usually they don't ask about those in consultations. Maybe the most you'll get is, are you married to a citizen? If you say no, then it's sort of like, well, go find yourself a spouse and maybe you'll get your green card. We don't do that here. What we do is we dig a little deeper to see what were the circumstances that caused you to overstay or caused you to be here in the US. And sometimes it does go a lot deeper than I just wanted to be here in the US. And in cases like that, we can use those facts to determine whether you qualify for another type of relief that no other attorney really evaluated. I recently became a nurse here. Do I have to go home to process my papers or can I stay? It depends. It depends on what your current situation is. If you became a nurse here, but you don't have your papers and an employer wants to sponsor you, the next question is, what's your current status and is your priority date current? If your priority date is current and you're still in status, then adjustment of status may be a good option for you. But we would have to see if you can't possibly wait here for your priority date to become current and maintain your status at the same time, then doing it in your country, processing those papers in your country may be the next best thing. So it depends on the circumstances. Passport was taken at border. How do I get it back if now approved for a green card? So you'd have to contact ICE and just show them the proof. So you'd have to contact where the ICE location that has a passport, provide them a proof that you do now have your green card, and then they should be able to release that passport to you. So just go about doing that. As soon as you get your green card, just go ahead and show them proof of status and they should release that to you. I didn't go to school when I came here with F1. Do you think that's why it's taking time to make a decision? So, make sure you're consulting with your attorney. I don't want to sit down and come up with reasons to get you stressed out. I don't want to do that because without solid facts, then we're just making assumptions, and that's just gonna let you stay up at night and worry, maybe unnecessarily. So, if you are really worried about it, it's time to do a one-on-one. You can contact us and schedule an appointment, and we can discuss it. But you know, saying that is because you didn't go to school when you came here. I don't want to get too much into that and get you worried. I had an error in my name on my marriage certificate, but they gave me a paper stating that a correction will be made and that I have attached to my marriage certificate. Would that still be an issue? It may not be. You know, it may not be, especially since you're in the process of getting it corrected and you got that proof. Just make sure you provide it to the officer at the interview, or if they ask and you still don't have the correction. Sometimes if they send a request for evidence to get the marriage certificate with the correct name, then you may just wait until they correct it, depending on the deadline on the RFE, and then send in the corrected marriage certificate. Is getting married to a US citizen a good move to adjust status? So it depends. Now, is we all cannot just walk into a grocery store and pick up a US citizen off the shelves, right? So it's not a choice for some people, it's just not a choice because you do have to have an established relationship and an intention to build a life together in a true marital union. So if you're in a situation where you overstayed your visa and you're trying to figure out a solution, entering a so-called business marriage is not going to be the way here. They are definitely looking out for those, and that can have very severe consequences. So I would say this here. Um, if you are in a relationship and you have an intention to build a life together and it's really a real relationship and you intend to enter a real marriage, then that is, yes, of course, it's a good move. Absolutely, it's a good move. If you are thinking about doing a business marriage, then no, it is not. I would say evaluate your options to see what other options are available to you. If you get if you get an NTA and just file for VAWA, should I go to court on the day and tell them I have a pending application, even though I have not received my receipt notice? So here's where you get an attorney. You certainly, having an attorney is not required, but however, when we have these situations with a notice to appear, there is a way to do it, where you do have to submit it in a formal written pleadings, discussing the types of relief you have, and then the judge and also counsel can look at the official pleadings. So it's if you got a notice to appear, what's going to happen is there's a certain procedure, right? So it's not like you just walk into the court and say, Judge, here's the paper, I have VAWA. We cannot do this. It doesn't work that way, unfortunately. In most cases, it doesn't. Unless both counsel or you and government counsel agree on something and then present it to the judge, and then the judge says, okay, they're going to dismiss it. However, in this case, when you get a notice to appear and that notice to appear is valid, you go to court, the judge is going to then basically ask you to review the notice to appear. Sometimes the judge just asks, do you have an attorney? But they usually go ahead and say, these are the charges in the notice to appear. What say you on these? And then you have to basically admit to the charges or deny those charges. And then you can state to the judge the kind of relief that you are currently pursuing. And in some cases, make the request that based on this, can the judge continue the proceedings? Or even, sometimes the judges are not willing to terminate just based on that initial notice to appear. But the main idea here is usually about 5 minutes long. Once most of it is waiting, you admit to the charges, deny, state your relief. And then from there, the judge creates a schedule either to submit your written pleadings or to go ahead and schedule any kind of motions or briefings that have to be submitted, and then the individual hearing. So as you can see, it's a procedural process. You have to abide by the process. So it's not as straightforward as just walking in and telling the judge you have VAWA and it needs to be, your case needs to be terminated. I came on immigrant visa with my green card. If I go out of USA, how long can I stay? I'll be getting married soon. If I file for my husband because he's not in the USA, how long will the process take? So as long as you have your green card and you don't stay outside of the country for more than, I would say 6 months, even 6 months is pushing it, you should be fine in maintaining your green card. Once you become a green card holder, you can file for your spouse right away. I'm a green card holder, misdemeanor. No, a misdemeanor, if you have a misdemeanor, it depends on what the misdemeanor is. If it's a severe misdemeanor that comes with, that causes you to be found deportable, then you could be referred to court. But it depends on what the conviction was. Good morning. Oh, I guess it's morning there. Good night for me. How are you? Okay, so we're here. We're in Delray Beach. We're based in Delray Beach, Florida. We do represent clients in all 50 states and the globe. Is the promise to be able to come back if you self-deport true or false? It's not so there's no promise for to come back. In the letter or whatever they're saying about self-deporting, they say you may be able to come back if you self-deport. It's not saying you will be able to come back. So no, it is not true. Uh, However, if you do end up self-deporting, it's not to say, it depends on your facts. You may be barred for 3 years, you may be barred for 10 years, depending on what happened, depending on how much time you overstayed. But there may be ways to come back under the law. But it's not as simple as you're just going to get to be allowed to come back, or guaranteed to come back. How does someone respond to an RFE about a common law marriage that was not done on papers, but it recognized in your country? And if you and that partner leave, you are free to go your separate ways. So it really comes down to the kinds of evidence that you have. So when it comes to common law marriage, in your country, how was that recognized? And what's the evidence that you have that you fit the criteria for common law marriage in your country? So it really comes down to the law in your country. As a green card holder, if I file for my husband, how long will the process take for it to be approved and for him to join me in the USA? I'd say prepare for about 2 to 3 years for consular processing. All right, here I'm on YouTube and Facebook. Can I just status Haitian 2023 Biden parole cut short, I-94 expired, but I have valid TPS. Wife LPR filed I-130 January 2025, priority current. Medical done, can TPS bridge adjustment? So with the TPS, it depends on the state and it depends on the TPS is not for the most part seen as a status. But some states, for example, I believe like California have California court did find TPS to be a type of status. So it may not be as straightforward here. But if you were under current status, you entered legally, you filed the adjustment of status while you were still on current status. Even if that status is now expired, then adjustment of status may be possible still. So that's even though your I-94 expired, did you apply for the adjustment of status before your I-94 expired? That would be the question here. Um, we have a hearing in July 11th on asylum removal proceedings under 214 Seattle. Been in the US since 2018, came legally as an F1 student, and then added to my husband's asylum case. Are we at risk? It depends on the outcome of the asylum. So if you are granted asylum, of course, that means you're safe. But if the judge then finds all the relief that you've applied for is they will not grant it, then at that point, they either look at something called voluntary departure, where it allows you to leave and not face certain bars, or they would issue an order of removal. How much time to get work permit? And good luck on that because I see it's July 11th. Just make sure you're preparing with your attorney to get through that. How much time to get work permit? I applied to T visa in December 2024, still not receive anything. A minimum of 6 months right now. I just got EAD travel document. Will that be safe to travel now? Travel document is there to travel. Is it a good idea to travel? You have to understand your risk, and it really depends on your individual case. How long will it take to get approval letter for I-485, I-130 after marriage-based interview? I've seen it come in as little as a few days, so less than a week. So, you might get confirmation of approval the next day, and then over the next week, you start to get the approval notices and the actual green card. I applied for VAWA. They send me only I-360 and prima facie receipt, April medical done, no receipt for the I-485, I-765, I-131. When will I receive this? So I would say right now, with how busy things are, you're looking at you usually have to file the I-360 and all of that together. So s- s- um, one one thing that may be happening is they may be getting ready to reject your packet. And what happens is you get the entire packet back with a letter on the top saying there's an error and you need to correct the error and resend it to them. That may be what's happening, especially since you got the I-360 receipt, and if you filed everything together, then that could be a hint that that's going to happen next. I have I-485 interview next month on F1 unmarried adult children. I'm 245 eligible. What advice can you give me heading into the interview? So all the best on your interview. Make sure you know everything in your application, line by line. Go through, refresh your memory to ensure that you remember all the facts that you put in there. It is also gives you a good chance to identify any kinds of mistakes you may have made in the application so that you're ready to correct those mistakes during the interview, because sometimes mistakes can unfortunately be misconstrued as something more harsh, like misrepresentation or fraud. So you want to make sure you make corrections where you identify those need to be made, like for example, missed addresses or missed work history. Just make sure you're on top of that. If you forgot to put something as simple as even traffic tickets on your on your application regarding any kind of criminal record, then raise that at the interview as well. So know line by line everything in your application. Bring your original documents. So if you have a work permit, if you have social security, if you have your passport, make sure you have your passport, your birth certificate at a minimum. Make sure you have the original documents there and any other documents that prove the relationship, just in case. A birth certificate would definitely be one of them. Also, proof of your entry into the United States would be another one. They already have it, but just in case they want to see it again. No, I'm not your attorney, and so I certainly cannot give you personalized legal advice, but these would be a good practice to just prepare your original documents, take them with you, make sure you know everything in your application so you can, basically answer the question in a questions in an informed way. Also, who's eligible for bond if detained by ICE? So, anybody who's detained by ICE has the opportunity to request bond. And once the bond is requested, a hearing is usually scheduled within 10 days of the request. Once that's done, you do have to show, usually that's done through the request, that you're not a flight risk, meaning that if the court releases you, you're not going to take off. And the way that you can show that is through your ties to the community, any relatives that you may have. If you have any pending cases at immigration already, that could also be proof that you are not a flight risk because you are sticking around to make sure you see your processes through. And then also that it's not against public interest or safety to release you. So that comes down to your background, any kind of criminal record, any criminal history involved. The judge is going to want you to show that it does not reflect that you are a danger in any way to the public. Do you need a sick relative to prove hardship for cancellation of removal? No. You don't need a sick relative. You can show hardships in other ways. So that's one type of hardship, but there are definitely other types of hardship to keep in mind. Is speeding ticket risk for international travel? Not usually. Not usually. In this case, it's a traffic violation. Good evening. How long to get a work permit for VAWA after getting prima facie? 6 to 12 months. On what ground they can detain you at green card interview? So what we've been seeing is criminal records. If they see any fraud, they may take you in then. So if if so those are two that I've seen. So fraud, and if they spot any criminal issues, or if you have a final removal order, they may take you in as well. Can I get a real ID with a work permit? Yes. Yeah. Once the work permit is valid and current, you should be able to get one um, with your social security number. On what grounds? Okay. All right, that's gonna be it for me. Thanks so much, guys, for your patience today as I, try to figure out the sound issues. Hopefully, as I get used to this new platform, we'll have a smoother process because before we're having issues with the camera. Now I want to I know how to fix the audio issues now, so hopefully everything will work. Thanks again for your time tonight. I'm gonna work to be on here tomorrow. What I would say is like, subscribe, follow, because that's how you're gonna see when I'm on so that you can join me. Because sometimes I hop on in the middle of the day, sometimes at night like this. So to just keep an eye on when I'm coming on. You can like, subscribe, follow, share this with other people too, because I provide information that can empower people through their immigration journey. So sharing can help other people as well. Thanks again for your time, everybody. Have a good night. And I thank you so much, and thank you. And I will talk to you tomorrow, all being well. Bye bye.